So NVIDIA just did the thing again. They stood up on a stage, said a name, and half the tech world lost its mind. That name, this time, is Reuben. And here's the part that got me hooked the second I read the press release. NVIDIA isn't just selling you a chip anymore. They're selling you a factory that makes intelligence. And I know this sounds like a marketing fluff, the kind of line you roll your eyes at, but stick with me for the next few minutes, because once you see how this thing is actually built, that phrase stops being a slogan and starts being kind of terrifyingly accurate. And if you're the type who likes understanding this stuff before your friends do me a favor and hit subscribe now, because I break down exactly this kind of shift every single week, and this is one you'll want to be early on. Alright, let me show you what Reuben actually is. First, the name, because it matters more than you'd think. Reuben is named after Vera Florence Cooper Reuben, an American astronomer whose work basically handed us the first real evidence of dark matter. She spent years staring at how galaxies spin and noticed that the math didn't add up unless something invisible was holding everything together. This is a weirdly perfect name for this platform, and honestly, because the whole point of Reuben is the invisible stuff. The interconnects, the memory, the plumbing you never see, but that quietly decides whether the whole system works. NVIDIA loves naming chips after scientists, and this one lands. They also split it in two. There's Vera, the CPU side, named for her first name, and Reuben, the GPU side, and together they run the show. Now here's where it gets good. When NVIDIA announced Reuben at CES back in January, they didn't announce a chip. They announced 6 of them. 6 new chips, all designed to click together into one machine. And you've got Vera CPU, the Rubin GPU, the NVLink 6 switch, the ConnectX-9 SuperNIC, the BlueField-4 DPU, and the Spectrum 6 Ethernet switch. And the reason this list matters is the word NVIDIA keeps using. Code sign. Extreme code sign, they call it. Instead of building a great GPU and hoping the rest of the data center keeps up, they designed the processor, the memory movers, the networking, and the security layer all at the same time, so they talk to each other with almost no friction. That's the mental shift. A GPU is a part. Reuben is a system where every part was drawn on the same whiteboard. Think about it like a car for a second. For years, NVIDIA basically sold you the world's best engine, and you were left to bolt on the transmission, the wheels, the fuel line all by yourself. With Reuben, they hand you the entire car, tuned so every piece is in perfect sync. That's why calling it an AI factory isn't crazy. It's a full production line for tokens, and every station on the line was engineered to feed the next one without ever waiting around. Okay, now it's time to hit you with the numbers, because this is where your jaw does a little drop. The Rubin GPU delivers 50 petaflops of what NVIDIA calls NVFP4 compute for inference. That's roughly 5 times the previous Blackwell generation could do, and they pulled it off while only increasing the transistor count about 1.6 times. So they're getting way more work out of not that many more transistors, which is the kind of efficiency that actually moves the needle. Each GPU carries up to 288 gigabytes of HBM4 memory, running at around 22 terabytes per second. And when you rack 72 of these together in the flagship Vera Rubin NVL72, the whole thing pushes 260 terabytes per second of NVLink bandwidth. NVIDIA's own line on that is blunt. That's more bandwidth than the entire internet. Think about that once again. One rack moves data faster than the global internet. The full rack lands at 3.6 exaflops of inference compute and packs 20.7 terabytes of HBM4 memory. That's not a computer you put under your desk. Okay, so let me actually make the case for the title because I think it's the most important idea here. For years, we thought about AI hardware like we thought about gaming rigs. Faster chip, more frames, done. But the workloads changed. Modern AI, the agentic reasoning stuff, the models that plan and think across thousands of steps, they don't just need raw math. They need to shuffle enormous amounts of data between chips constantly. And here's the wild detail that I didn't fully appreciate until I dug in. For these reasoning models, most of the inference cost isn't the computing, it's the moving. It's data sliding between GPUs, so NVIDIA flipped the whole design philosophy. Instead of making compute the headline, they made memory and interconnect bandwidth the headline. That's the factory logic. In a real factory, you don't just want fast machines, you want a conveyor belt that never stalls, and Reuben is basically the best conveyor belt anyone's ever built, wrapped around some ridiculously fast machines. And the RAS engine, the reliability layer, keeps the line running with real-time health checks and cable-free tray design that NVIDIA says makes servicing up to 18 times faster than Blackwell. Factories care about uptime, and this is a factory through and through. Now it's time for the part that actually decides whether any of this matters in the real world. Money. Because a supercomputer that's insanely expensive to run doesn't change the world. It just sits in a photo. NVIDIA's headline claims that Reuben delivers up to 10 times reduction in inference token cost compared to Blackwell. 10 times cheaper to generate a token. And it trains those giant mixture of experts models using 4 times fewer GPUs. Think about what that does. Every time the cost of intelligence drops by an order of magnitude, stuff that was economically impossible suddenly becomes a Tuesday. Million token context windows running in production. Agents that actually reason through long problems without bankrupting the company running them. That's the real story here, and it's why I'm genuinely bullish on this one. It's not the flashy flops number. It's the cost curve bending down hard, because that's the thing that puts advanced AI in front of normal people and normal businesses instead of just the giants. And people are lining up. This is not a case of NVIDIA shouting into an empty room. The list of companies adopting Reuben reads like a who's who of the entire AI industry. Microsoft is building next-generation Fairweather AI superfactories around Vera Reuben racks, scaling to hundreds of thousands of their superchips. OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, xAI, Google, Amazon Web Services, Oracle, they're all in. Sam Altman said intelligence scales with compute, and Reuben lets them keep scaling. Elon Musk called it the rocket engine for AI. Satya Nadella talked about building the world's most powerful AI superfactories, and when every major lab and every major cloud is committing to the same platform, that tells you the industry has basically agreed on the direction. And CoreWeave is among the first to actually offer it, with the big clouds like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and Oracle right behind them. This isn't a concept sitting on a lab somewhere. Reuben entered full production this year, and partner products are landing in the second half of 2026. That's the other thing that stands out to me. Usually a launch like this is a promise for 2 years down the road. This one is basically now. So, what do I actually think about all this? Honestly, I think this is one of the most important hardware stories of the decade, and not for the reason most headlines say. Everyone fixates on the speed. 5 times faster, more bandwidth than the internet, all that. Cool, sure, but the thing I keep coming back to is the whole business changes. You're not buying a component, you're buying capacity to manufacture intelligence at a very predictable cost. That's a profoundly different product. It's the difference between selling someone a really good oven and selling them an entire bakery that runs itself. And I think NVIDIA is right that this is where the industry is going. The models are getting hungrier, the reasoning is getting deeper, and And you cannot feed that with a faster chip. You need the whole system co-designed. Is there hype baked in? Of course there is. Those 10 times numbers are NVIDIA's own figures and they haven't been fully independently benchmarked yet, so I'd keep a little healthy skepticism until third parties confirm it. But even if reality lands at half the claim, that's still a massive leap. I'm optimistic. I think Reuben is the moment the AI factory stopped being a metaphor. Here's the bottom part. Reuben isn't a faster graphics card. It's a rethink of what a computer even is when the product it makes is intelligence itself. 6 chips, 1 machine, 1 purpose, manufacturing tokens as cheaply and reliably as possible. And whether you find that exciting or a little unsettling, it's happening, and it's happening this year. If this actually made the whole Reuben thing click for you, do me a quick favor and smash the like button because it genuinely helps the channel more than you think. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet because the next few months in AI hardware are going to be absolutely wild, and I want you here for all of that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.